In order to keep workplaces safe and even in our personal life, we need to make sure that we secure our devices. This essentially means protecting any device that we use, whether it's a computer, a laptop, a smartphone, or a tablet, or any other device, from threats, misuse, and unauthorized access. We can secure devices like computers, laptops, smartphones, and tablets, and even Internet of Things devices from threats, misuse, and unauthorized access by ensuring that we're using the proper security settings for our device, making sure that they're up to date as far as patches and updates go, making sure that they have the right software, and by implementing safe user habits. Here's what we're going to be covering in this video. We're going to be talking about patches and updates, safe configurations, antivirus and anti-malware, firewalls, safe software sources, physical device security, social engineering and social engineering awareness, safe browsing practices, and the concept of least privilege. Let's first talk about patching and updates, because these are incredibly common and we get patches and updates in almost all of our devices very, very frequently. These patches and updates are generally used to fix known security issues or improve performance or add some sort of new feature to our device. A patch specifically fixes problems or vulnerabilities, while an update might include patches, or mainly it includes improvements as well as new features. So many times, especially in today's world, I know for Android phones, you have to have one of the latest phones in order to actually be able to be eligible for the different security patches and updates. I believe that phones running Android that are more than 3 or 4 years old are not eligible for new security updates. So whatever device you have, you want to make sure that your device is able to actually receive the manufacturer's security updates. That's incredibly crucial. You don't need to know that for the Tech Plus exam, but it's just a good piece of information that you should know about, because there are some devices that are far out of date and can't receive current security updates and patches. So here's why patching and updates are actually important. Well, generally, they're going to be fixing known security vulnerabilities that attackers will use. It also helps protect from malware and cyber attacks, and it improves overall system stability and performance. Next is safe configuration, and this is when we set up our devices or systems securely by changing default settings and turning any unnecessary features off. No matter what device we have, it's likely that we have some sort of configurations that don't really benefit us. So by eliminating those or disabling those, it's a massive help in terms of saving battery, and it can also help keep your systems more secure. Safe configuration is important because it reduces security risk, and it can potentially help prevent unauthorized access, and it can also limit damage if a system is compromised. Next is antivirus and anti-malware. You've definitely seen of these, and you might have even used one of these before in the past, or you might currently have one. These are essentially software that are used to detect, block, and remove any sort of malicious software from viruses, spyware, ransomware, and Trojans. Antivirus and anti-malware are important because they help protect our devices from malware and from cyber attacks. They also help prevent data theft as well as system damage. They help scan files and programs for threats, and overall, they help keep systems running safely and smoothly. Here at the bottom, you can see some common antivirus and anti-malware programs. We have Malwarebytes, Avast, AVG, Windows Defender, Norton, VirusTotal. There's dozens more out there, but these are a few of the most common ones. Next here we have firewalls, and a firewall is essentially a security software that runs on a specific device, and it controls incoming and outgoing network traffic. For example, we could have a firewall on a server, we could have a firewall on another device, and these different types of firewalls, well, they just help block unauthorized network access. They could potentially help prevent malware from getting over onto the internet and into our network. And they might even protect devices when connected to public networks if the firewall is properly configured. Next, let's talk about safe software sources. So when we go online, we can download things from any website, any store, but that doesn't always mean we're downloading the safest things, right? And that's where safe software sources come in. These are places where we can download apps and programs that are known to be good, such as from an official company website. Let's just go back to the previous discussion when we're talking about Malwarebytes. If I wanted to download Malwarebytes, I could go out to Malwarebytes website and download it from them directly. Downloading it from anywhere else, it might be shady. You're not guaranteed to get a virus, but you're definitely rolling the dice as far as what you might get. Same thing with mobile devices, iPhones, tablets. Again, these verified app stores are the best place to get them. Apple Store, or Android has Google Play Store. These are verified places where you can go and make sure that you're getting legit source apps, and then you can use those apps. So here's why safe software sources are important and why it's so crucial that when you go out and you download software or different apps, that you use safe software sources. First is because they reduce the risk of downloading malware. Now, while you can get malware from sources, so for example, from the Apple Store, the odds are pretty low that you're going to ever encounter any sort of malware. It's very, very rare. It can happen, but again, they're on a very, very trusted platform that does different types of checks for things like that. So the odds of you encountering that are probably pretty low. Additionally, it helps us ensure that software is legitimate and up to date. It helps avoid fake or modified programs that also may harm our device or data. Here's safe versus unsafe sources. If you want, you can pause the video here to look at these, but these are just some examples of safe software sources where we can go and download things. And here's some unsafe software sources, random sites, unknown links, suspicious things like that. For physical device security, this references our actual physical devices and ensuring that they stay out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Whether it's a computer, a laptop, or any other device, we have to protect them from theft, damage, or any sort of unauthorized access. Physical device security is important because it can help prevent data theft if a device is stolen. Now, for the most part, any company laptops should always be encrypted. So if they do get stolen, no one can crack in and actually get that information. But sometimes companies don't always encrypt devices, so that can be a legitimate security concern. Additionally, physical device security is useful for protecting hardware from damage or from tampering, and it also helps us maintain security even when a device is powered off. An example of a physical device security is using laptop locks. So let's say that you leave your laptop at the office, don't just leave it on your desk. Make sure that your company or your business or your department invests in laptop locks. That way you can lock it right to your desk, or you could even put in something like a filing cabinet and lock it within there. Social engineering is becoming far more popular in today's society. And social engineering is essentially when anyone is able to trick someone else by making them think there's something that they're not, or there's someone that they're not. For example, a social engineer might call your work phone directly and say that they're the CEO and you need to go out and buy some Apple gift cards immediately. Or you might get an email from your manager who's been out on vacation and he's requesting some files that he's never requested before. Kind of shady, right? That could be another instance of social engineering. Social engineering is most common because they use a lot of pressure. So if you ever get emails or phone calls where people want things done now, that might be a social engineering attempt. We have a whole course on social engineering and how to avoid social engineering, both in the workplace and in your personal setting. But all you really need to know is social engineering is just an attacker tricking people. Social engineering is important because attackers will often target people. They're far easier to trick than technology is. And by understanding social engineering awareness in your company, it can help prevent phishing, scams, and identity theft. On screen is an example of a phishing and social engineering attempt. You can see this is an email, and this subject line says account alert, immediate action required. It's from a strange website or email address, security@support.com. This is a dead giveaway. This is pretty bad. It's uppercase, it's in red, it's very, very large font. We've detected unusual activity to protect account, verify the identity immediately. See how they're trying to rush you into something. This is one of the main things is they try and hit you with a sense of urgency. Your account is locked. Click here to reset now. See how they're trying to verify your identity immediately. See how they're trying to get you to act very, very quickly. It's not like they're saying, when you have some time, go ahead and act or contact us here or there. One of the best things if you get emails like this is either just ignore them altogether, or if you really need to verify them, reach out directly to the company that sent that email or that left you that voicemail or that gave you that phone call and connect to them through their legitimate channels. So for example, if this was an email from Microsoft at Microsoft.com, I would contact Microsoft directly. I would not reply to this email. In fact, I might take a screenshot of it and then delete it. And then I would ask Microsoft, I'd be like, hey, give them a call, give them a text, or email them if you can. And I'd say, hey, I got this strange email. Was this from you guys? And obviously, if you don't have a Microsoft account, just ignore stuff like this because that's just people trying to trick you into thinking that you might already have an account. Next up is safe browsing practices. And these are habits that help us stay secure while we use the internet and avoid anything malicious. Safe browsing habits are different from organization to organization. They're not always concretely defined. And in fact, many organizations today use a wide variety of different training methods. But overall, they're here to help prevent malware and phishing attacks from succeeding and any social engineering attacks in general or any fraud. And they also help protect personal and business related and login information. And they also reduce the risk of downloading harmful content or clicking potentially harmful links. Some examples of safe browsing practices: avoiding suspicious links, checking website URLs, using only HTTPS websites, not downloading files from unknown sources. And like I just mentioned previously, if you're ever unsure, make sure you just delete it or archive it or just screenshot it and delete it and then reach out to directly whoever's claiming to reach out to you. Here we have least privilege. This is a very, very common and crucial aspect of security. This is where employees, users, service accounts, or even AI or automation are only given the amount of access, permissions, or roles or rights that they need to do their job and nothing more. Now, keep in mind, when I say roles, rights, permissions, It's all access. That's all that is. You can use dozens of different terms for these, but essentially most people use access, roles, rights, or permissions. They all mean very, very similar things. There's small, minuscule details or differences between them if you really want to get specific. But for the most part, when we talk about access, we're talking about those four terms interchangeably. So least privilege is incredibly important. If you're going to go into cybersecurity, you have to know about least privilege, identity and access management, GRC or governance, risk, and compliance, multiple other areas of IT and cybersecurity. They implement least privilege. Least privilege is crucial because everyone should have only the necessary access to complete their job and nothing more. Even if you're the CEO, you shouldn't have access to, say, IT resources or IT permissions or IT admin accounts. So no matter who you are in the organization, you should only have access to exactly what you need. Same thing. IT staff shouldn't have access to HR records to see everyone's pay. There has to be a clear separation of duties, and we do that through least privilege by ensuring all access is the minimum that we can give people to do their job. Least privilege is important because it can in some ways reduce the risk of malware causing damage. For example, if someone gets into an account, instead of being able to go out through the entire network and have access to admin accounts, they might just be able to modify a few things for that specific job role. It can in some ways prevent accidental system changes, but this isn't really that common, and it really can limit what attackers can do if an account is compromised. This is true. One more thing that I would note here, if you're taking physical notes, is that least privilege can also impact malicious insiders. And malicious insiders is a concept in cybersecurity and in business in general where you have someone who's working at an organization and they're not necessarily the most moral person out there. They're working at that organization, but if they have enough access, they might go look at things that they shouldn't be looking at intentionally. So that's a major part of what least privilege access does as well. It's not just for when accounts are hacked, it's also too when employees who shouldn't be having access to information might be looking at pieces of information that they have access to if we give them that access. So we always have to be careful of that as well, malicious insiders. Example of least privilege, a regular employee using a standard user account, while only IT staff using administrator accounts to install software system changes. This is pretty normal. Yeah, this is pretty normal. A regular employee might have a standard user account, but IT staff might have a regular user account and an administrator account. So keep that in mind. Even sometimes you might even have least privilege to the point where you have multiple accounts for different job duties. So it can get pretty in depth. So let's conclude this one. We covered all of the main practices used to protect devices from security threats and unauthorized access, and we talked about some good best practices that you can implement in order to ensure that your cybersecurity in your organization works. Some topics we covered were patching and updates, safe configurations, antivirus and anti-malware, firewalls or host-based firewalls in this case, safe software sources such as iOS Store and Android Store, physical device security, so protecting our devices through some sort of lock or something like that, social engineering awareness, or having employees or other people understand how social engineering works and how to avoid social engineering attacks and phishing, safe browsing practices, so how we should actually browse the internet properly, and the concept of least privilege, which is limiting anyone's access to only what they need to do their job, which reduces security risks. In the next video, we're going to be talking about password best practices.